Welcome to the Defense and Aerospace Report. I'm Vago Muradian here in Northern Virginia, where we're covering the Surface Navy Association's 30th Annual Conference and Trade Show. Our coverage here is sponsored by Leonardo DRS, and we're honored to have with us United States Navy Rear Admiral John Wade, who is the Chief of the Naval Surface and Mine Warfighting Development Center. See, I got that without messing it up. You're in one of the highest demand people over here, in part because of the very cool nature of the job and the organization. Vice Admiral Tom Roden, the commander of U.S. Naval Surface Forces, came up with the concept in 2015, and you guys stood up. Talk to us a little bit about the critical mission you guys have across the warfighting integration piece, especially at a time when we're trying to do cross-domain and so many other things.
Well, first of all, you're right. It is an incredible opportunity. I lead a great team. But this is more than just the surface Navy. This is actually a vision of Admiral Gortney when he was Fleet Forces Command, where he understood that we live in a complex environment, and that you're right, in order to have the highest effects, we need to be able to break down barriers and find ways to mutually support our other communities, the Joint Force, and our coalition. But for surface warfare, Admiral Roden, who's the lead TICOM, he's the one who was tasked by Admiral Gortney to create this organization. So in 2015, it was established to do a couple of things. First of all, it was to increase our lethality. It was also to increase the tactical proficiency of our officers and our sailors across the force. Also to rededicate ourselves to sea control and then to learn faster. And the reason why is because we're in a period of fierce competition, whether it's peer competitors, regional actors, or non-state actors with bad intentions. We have to be more proficient, more lethal, so that we can create a more deterrent force and maintain the sea lines of communication to ensure our national security.
And so talk to us a little bit about how, folks come, get instructor level, they're going out to the force. Talk to us a little bit about the cycle, about how you're getting talent out to the force, how you're getting out to the fleet, because the improvement cycles have bbeen dramatically accelerated by you guys. As disciples come and, they learn with Obi-Wan and Yoda, and then they go back out to the force.
Yeah, well, first of all, the Navy is an elite organization. We're also a learning organization, and the CNO has mandated that we've got to learn faster. So what we did when this command was established was to look at best practices across the fleet. And we have great teammates, the aviation community and the submarine community as examples, that have instituted a culture of learning faster by creating experts. Experts that are technical and tactical ninjas or Jedis, for a lack of a better term, but understand systems, understand tactics, understand training, and how we can better support our warfighters on the ships, on the waterfront. So we've established this program called the Warfare Tactics Instructor program, which gets at all the different mission areas that we're responsible for: surface, subsurface, integrated air missile defense, amphibious warfare, and we're still looking at mine warfare, which is a very important mission area, and maybe we can talk about that. So we create these experts who then go to what we call readiness production tours. So you think about the organizations that train our ships, a float training group, Center for Combat Systems, SWAS, also now my organization, to help train in the basic phase, the advanced phase, and the integrated phase to go for those objectives that we had established. But what's most important about these warfare tactics instructors is two things. One, they're part of an analysis process that brings feedback from real-world operations or how we perform during our exercises, and feed that back into the system so we can identify material issues that we work with the technical community to address, find training gaps, then we get after them, and then also procedures, or TTP, or tactics, techniques, and procedures that we need to address to bring the most out of our capabilities. And then the second most important point about this program, and this is a long-term effort, we're seeing results in the near term, but when you look above the forest for the future, is that these tactical experts, once they leave these production tours, are going to be department heads out at sea. Then they're going to come back and maybe go into the institution, work at the resource sponsor, work at a TICOM, work on the joint staff with our joint partners or coalition partners. Then there'll be XOs, there'll be COs, there'll be major commanders, and one day there'll be a flag officer, just like the aviation community and the submarine community. So this is a long-term effort to increase our proficiency and our warfighting abilities, and the only constant in today's world is change. And the CNO talks about it, the SecDef, the chairman, all the different, this is a Navy, this is a institutional effort across the board, not just surface Navy, but I am responsible for the surface side of it. So it's the WITI program that's so critical to this.
And SWAS, of course, the Surface Warfare Officer School. Let's talk a little bit about the accidents and the tragic incidents that claimed the lives of 17 sailors, left others injured. A lot of lessons learned. We've heard from Admiral Davidson, the Fleet Forces commander, on that. He spoke this morning. And Admiral Roden spoke with great passion about the incidents and what the lessons learned were. From your standpoint, what's your role in sort of improving that capability? How has your guidance changed? How is your curriculum going to change? How does your thinking and approach change to better prepare future leaders, whether it's in navigating their ships, but also fighting their ships?
Right. So, yes, we lost the lives of young sailors, and it's been a tragic summer. My role is war fighting. So I am not directly involved in seamanship and navigation, but as a surface warfare officer, that's core to what we do. And if we have to fight and win, you obviously have to get there, right? So when you look at the lessons learned from the comprehensive review and the SecNav's review, is that there's individual training requirements to get to basics. There's teamwork. There's the ability to rapidly capture lessons and then feed that back into the system. So what I just described to you earlier about why we exist and what our warfare tactics instructors do and what the process that we've established, we're already kind of on the starting line, already moving forward in this area. Now there's a lot of things that we can learn from the comprehensive review, and some of the things that I talk about often is that if you have capability, that capability is only as good as your training and the procedures that you have to use it. And Admiral Davidson, who just spoke, he talked about uncertainty and stress. Well, that brings in human factors, and so you fall back to that level of training and proficiency you have. Well, that's what we do. That's what our warfare tactics instructors and our subject matter experts do in a warfighting, environment. So the things that we do in the classroom, on the waterfront, out at sea to get at training in all those mission areas, what we do to develop tactical development, how we provide operational support, how we conduct assessments and experimentation. It's all part of this effort that the CNO talked about in a renaissance and really getting back to making warfighting a priority. And it's not just something that is a nice to do, we have to do it. We have to do it because of the complex and dangerous world that we live in.
Yeah, the CNO had a lot of great lines in his talk, but one of them which I thought was most powerful is all the other services can do battlefield tours, whereas naval officers can't because the victors sailed away and the losers were at the bottom of the ocean. And in this competitive world, we've got to be ready. And he also invoked Arleigh, the great Arleigh Burke. What's the difference between a good naval officer and a great naval officer? 10 seconds. Mm-hmm. And of course his comments on AI, which were very thought-provoking in future warfare. One of the places that the Navy has worked to try to get better at for a long time has been mine warfare. But that community has sort of felt underappreciated, unloved, but now a tremendous amount of focus that's going in there and a whole bunch of autonomous systems. So there is a big renaissance and a focus on that. And you can also look at it on the anti-submarine warfare part of things, where there is also a core part of the surface warfighting mission is anti-submarine warfare. And I'd like you to talk about both of those. Some of the efforts you guys have underway to really hone and sharpen those skills. Friends of mine in the fleet say enormous, we already feel that change and that renaissance that Admiral Roden is talking about. Talk to us a little bit about mine warfare and how you're laser focused on that, and also on the anti-submarine warfare piece of it, which a good, very expert anti-submarine warfare officer, a friend of mine from the Cold War, said, look, we spent a lot of time doing this in the Cold War and we weren't very good. We haven't spent a lot of time doing this at all over the past 20 years, so we're a little bit less good than maybe we want to be. So talk to us a little bit about both of those elements.
Well, first of all, I'm glad you brought up mine warfare. When you look at my command's name, it's Surface and Mine Warfighting Development Center.
There's no way really to miss that.
No, there isn't. And the reason why that was purposely added into the command's name is because we don't want to forget this critical mission area. And I'm also, and it's a long story, but I am also the Global Mine Warfare Commander, so I have an operational role. So I understand it. When we talk about sea control, and we heard the CNO talk about it the other day, which is critical to what we do as a Navy, it's a little hard to have sea control if there are mines in the water. So you have to prevent mines from going in, and then if there are mines in the water, you have to be able to clear them so we can bring forces to bear, whether it's power projection or whatever other Navy mission that we have. So it's really at the forefront of what we do and what we think about. We're making advancements in training. We're getting after tactical development. We provide support in all theaters. But what's really, really important for SMITIC as we build our capacity is that we do assessments. And you heard Davidson talk about how assessments are so important in view of the comprehensive review. We do assessments to understand what's going well, but what isn't, whether it's training, whether it's procedures, whether it's our systems. And when we have our assessments and we have this analysis, we push it up through the fleets to OpNav so they can make resource decisions in a constrained environment. Because we now have a WDC, we're kind of like a quarterback, because we coordinate with the technical community, we coordinate with the testing and research and development communities. We are knee-deep involved in training, and mine warfare is unique because you have surface, you have aviation, you have expeditionary and undersea. There's the rapid influx of undersea unmanned platforms. And so, again, why this is such a genius vision of Admiral Gortney is that you got to coordinate and collaborate with our other warfighting development centers and our other communities, because that's the cross-domain piece. So it's not just us working in a vacuum, it's a team sport, okay? So mine warfare is something that we're working on, and you're right, it's been an area that has been under-resourced for a long period of time, but let me tell you what, it has the CNO's attention, it has Admiral Swift and Admiral David's attention. Every fleet commander is actively involved in this, and because we have to, okay? Then you also talked about anti-submarine warfare. Now, I don't have the lead in that domain. That's Undersea Warfighting Development Center. But my teammate, Admiral Jimmy Pitts, is the one who is responsible. But I support. There's a supporting relationship. But you're right. You know, just like we talked about, we're in a complex environment, a changing environment. Our near-peer competitors are bringing capability and capacity that we have to pay attention to. You know, we have the best Navy in the world. We have the best undersea, surface, aviation Navy in the world. We're trying to get it better. And you talked about margins of error and Admiral, Burke's quote of, what's the difference between success and failure? 10 seconds. The margins are slim, and he's right. Whether that was 40, 50 years ago or today, we've got to do everything we can to win in this competitive environment. And that's why we're doing it in all mission areas, not just mine warfare and anti-submarine warfare.
Rear Admiral John Wade, who commands the Naval Surface and Mine Warfighting Development Center. Sir, thanks very much, and look forward to visiting with you, whether it's in San Diego or whether it's even more locally down in sunny Norfolk.
Well, thanks for the opportunity to explain what we do and what we aim to achieve, and it's really the young men and women who really want to make our Navy better. They're the ones on my team that are really making the difference.
Outstanding. Thanks, sir.
Thank you so much.